Welcome to Vigorous Health. I'm Coach Steve. Let's talk about blood work and how often you should do it, because I think it's still unclear for a lot of people is that how often they should actually do blood work. Now, full disclaimer, full transparency, blood work is not going to tell you everything. Yeah? It's not going to give you insight on coronary artery disease or plaque buildup or the extent of liver health, yeah, or complete function of your kidneys. For those, you still need to do some sort of ultrasound, echocardiogram, maybe even a biopsy if the doctor's unsure what's going on. So blood work is just the first step in assessing your health. And if there's something wrong, you still need to go to a healthcare provider, physician or doctor to assess the severity of what's going on, if something is compromised. So for kidneys, heart, liver, usually you can get a fair assessment with an ultrasound. When it concerns the heart, you might have to do a CT scan or an MRI because that gives you a little bit better indication of what's going on with with the arteries around your heart, your ejection fraction, and if there's any possibility of backflow. With an ultrasound, you can assess if there's some sort of left ventricle enlargement or symmetrical enlargement. And of course, depending on the other, like kidney or liver, you might have to do a biopsy, depending on the severity of the medical condition that you got yourself into. That's all beyond my expertise. I'm not a doctor, but I do have a lot of experience with blood work. So let's go over that. Blood work. First step, when you need to do it, when you're drug-free, every year is usually enough. Yeah. Then depending on the medical conditions that you have in your family, you might want to check in certain markers a little bit more frequently. Now, you're always a little bit dependent on your healthcare system. So if your healthcare system says you can only do blood work once a year because they're expecting you to be healthy and not take, PEDs and play your own doctor for the sake of bodybuilding, they're not going to assume that you're doing that. So usually medical healthcare providers, they give you one blood work assessment per year. And in most cases, that doesn't include the hormones, which is very unfortunate for us because, of course, when you're drug-free and you check your blood work every year, you kind of want to see where your hormones are at. And as you get older and maybe, life gets more stressful, say you do everything right, you pay attention to your diet, you get your sleep in, and you get all your micronutrients in for healthy hormone production. Stress is usually out of your control, and if that starts to affect your sleep and your hormone levels start to decline, hormone replacement might be, in the cards for you. Whether you take that into your own hands because you're a bodybuilder and you want a little bit more muscle than you're getting through your natural hormone production. Okay, I 100% agree with you, but you still need to do your blood work before you get started. So when you notice that your hormone levels are declining, you're able to test those levels either through your healthcare provider or maybe some of the hormone replacement clinics that are available in many of the countries nowadays. See where your testosterone, estrogen, follicle-stimulating hormone, Leydig hormone, sexual-binding globulin, and maybe fasting cortisol levels are at. Maybe your progesterone, prolactin, you want to check that depending on how your body fat levels are. Make an assessment on how you want to continue with or how you want to proceed with hormone replacement, because maybe your hormone ratio is already off a little bit. When you start going into hormone replacement, you need to go into that scenario educated. And you can go to a hormone replacement clinic. They'll have a lot more experience than you do giving these kind of informations. Still, some of them are a little bit behind. They do the typical 100 milligrams a test, ACG and Arimidex. I think there's better ways to start your hormone replacement, therapy. But hey, that's just me, and I take it from a bodybuilding angle and not from a hormone replacement clinic angle. So that's the blood work regarding your hormones. Now, your hormones are going to alter when you start taking PEDs. When you start taking steroids, testosterone, whatever, even SARMs, your hormone ratios are going to change, and it's up to you to manage that in an informed and educated fashion. Hopefully, by the time you start steroids, all the other markers were still fine. Your blood count was okay. There are no elevated hematocrit, no silly differentials on the white blood cells. Yeah, that might come later. That's a side effect of taking steroids. You want to build some muscle, but your red blood cell count might go up as well. Yeah, everybody responds differently, and it also depends on which hormones you're going to take. You might see a little bit more red blood cell production with primo, boldenone, anadrol, maybe trenbolone. Yeah, if you live at elevation, it's going to go up also. And if you use something like EPO, yeah, it's going to go up for sure. Now, hopefully you make an educated and informed decision on how to use these hormones if you decide to do so. But before you get started, at least the case with me, everything, literally all the markers were in range. The only thing that I saw is that my testosterone levels were slowly declining, and with 650 nanograms per deciliter, I wasn't making any gains. Yeah, after 10 years of drug-free training, so I decided to hop on the juice. 250 tests a week. So exciting. I made a tremendous amount of progress. So every time I hear somebody talk about your first cycle needs to be 500 tests, if you're at the top of your natural potential or close to it, 250 tests, even 150 tests is more than enough. Yeah, start low, build your way up as needed. You don't have to start high and grow into the dose with a lot of side effects. You know, you want the testosterone to go to your muscle and not go to your hair, skin, prostate, aggression center of the brain, and do things that you didn't ask for. All right, all of that out of the way. Once you're hormonized, yeah, so when you're drug-free once a year, I think that's enough. You can just simply see how your body responds to the food and the training. Maybe you take a little bit of supplements, see how your liver enzymes and kidney values change. If you're taking creatine, you know, your creatinine levels might go up a little bit. Keep track of that. The most important thing is keeping track of your hormone levels. If those start to decline, you have a valid excuse to start hormonizing. Once you're hormones, you need to keep track of everything. I think it's important to do blood work every 3 months. The full panel, everything. Yeah, the full panel. So that's complete blood count, your liver function, complete liver function, including bilirubin, albumin, liver enzymes, gamma GT, kidney function, creatinine, yeah, estimated glomerular filtration rate, CPK, yeah, creatine phosphate kinase. Those are going to be elevated if you train insane. This is part of the game. And cystatin C. Now, you can do the cystatin C once a year. That's a more accurate indication of kidney health. I think it's enough to do that once a year. You don't have to do that every 3 months, but you do need to keep track of your creatinine levels, because as your muscle mass increases, your creatinine levels are going to go up. But if you take harsh androgenic steroids that increase blood pressure, like trenbolone and anadrol, and you don't know how to mitigate those side effects, your creatinine goes up way too fast because you're causing a little bit of kidney damage, either through trenbolone or anavar, which are metabolized in the kidneys. And your blood pressure goes up, putting pressure on the kidneys from the inside, which could, damage the nephrons and the filtration of the kidneys, causing some of the toxins or some of the chemicals to leak out of your kidneys, and some of them stay behind in the body, like a creatinine that will slowly increase. So keep track of that. That's the first step. Creatinine is the first step to assess kidney health. And then, of course, you need to do a 24-hour urine collection test and a cystatin C test, and perhaps an inulin clearance test to see how your kidneys are really affected by taking certain steroids. Yeah. The best way to do it is, of course, keep your blood pressure in range and stay away from the harsh androgenic compounds that could potentially damage your liver or your kidneys and increase blood pressure. Yeah. So test primo, even though anavar is metabolized in the liver and the kidneys, all the research that I've done doesn't show that it's kidney toxic, but it's still metabolized in the kidneys, so keep that in mind. Yeah. Check those markers every 3 months. Yeah. Your hormone levels. You want to check your estrogen probably every 4 weeks until you figure out which aromatase inhibitor, which dose gives you solid estrogen levels. So let's say you start with 250 tests. 4 weeks into it, you already started with aromatase inhibitor just as a preventative measure. Not too much, not too little. but you don't know what's going to happen because you've never done hormones before. Check your levels before you go on your desired hormone replacement dose or starter cycle dose. You go on your aromatase inhibitor, whether that's aromasin or arimidex, or you choose to go with diethylmethane or calcium D-glucarate. Check your estrogen levels 4 weeks into it to assess where it's at, and then confirm the dosing protocol of your aromatase inhibitor. Yeah? Now you have less to worry about going forward. Instead of letting it climb and climb and climb, or crush and crush and crush, and now you either have full-blown gynecomastia or a dick that doesn't work. They're both not ideal circumstances. So after 4 weeks, when you start a cycle, just check your estrogen levels. Make sure that's in range. If it's too low, go easy on your aromatase inhibitor. And if it's too high, you might want to increase your aromatase inhibitor. Yeah, don't increase them too much, because now your sex hormone binding globulin might get too low, and that leads to all sorts of problems later on, including sex drive. Yeah, you want your sex hormone binding globulin to be about the middle to like around the middle. It's okay. Don't be it at the bottom, and definitely not below the range, because now sex hormone binding globulin is not there to deliver sex hormones to tissue. Liver. That highly depends on what you're doing and what you're taking. Yeah? If you are keeping it simple, you're only using injectables and they're pretty mild and FDA approved, liver enzymes shouldn't change that much. And if they do change, it's probably workout related. So when your liver enzymes go up, I feel that 1 point per 1 kilo body weight is acceptable, especially if you're using some supplements that also increase liver enzymes, like a niacin, for example. Even the flush version can increase liver enzymes a little bit. A curcumin phytosomes might increase liver enzymes a little bit. Yeah. Nolvadex, if you decide to take that as a preventative measure to block estrogen receptors, might increase liver enzymes a little bit. And then the whole act of hypertrophy training increases liver enzymes, because liver enzymes, aminotransferases, are not only found in the liver, but also in skeletal muscle. And when you train for hypertrophy, you're damaging the muscle cell, allowing some of the enzymes, the aminotransferases, the AST and ALT, to go into the bloodstream, increasing the enzymes in the blood. And, you might get a false positive, so to say, for liver damage, when in reality, those enzymes are found everywhere in the body. And hypertrophy workout will increase them by, a couple points anyway. So if you're worried about liver health, stop training for a week and then do your blood work. Yeah, that allows all the liver enzymes that could potentially, or the aminotransferases that could potentially release from training to come down. And then the liver enzymes that you see in the blood are more indicative of the state of your liver. And whatever oral or supplements or alcohol or recreational drugs you've been taking that has been affecting the state of your liver health. Right? I think I talked about red blood cells a little bit more in a past video, so I won't go over that too much. Again, it highly depends on how much iron, vitamin B9, B12, and B2 you're taking into your diet, and then a erythropoietic compound like an anadrol, boldenone, primobolan, Trembolone, EPO, whatever that produces more red blood cells and more platelets. Keep that in track, yeah. Every 3 months you check that, because usually the life cycle of red blood cells is about 60 to 90 days. So that's a good interval to keep checking your complete blood count, because every 60 to 90 days it changes. When you look at, for those guys that check their hemoglobin H1C, that's usually a 3-month average of your blood sugar levels, because the hemoglobin H1C gets affected by, or the hemoglobin gets affected by your blood sugar levels, and the higher your blood sugar levels are, the more hemoglobin turns into a H1C variety, increasing the percentage of hemoglobin H1C compared to normal hemoglobin. If you're fasting, or if your blood sugar levels are chronically high, you'll start to see more and more hemoglobin H1C. So every 3 months, full blood work, the liver, the kidney, the complete blood count, and your hormones can you can do a little bit more frequently just to keep track of how everything is going and make the right adjustments so your sex drive, your mood, your well-being, no acne, no excessive water retention, and no signs or potential for gynecomastia can occur. Yeah. Once you figure out your testosterone dose and your aromatase inhibitor dose, you don't need to check that at 4-week intervals. You can get away with, maybe 6 months just to confirm, because the dosing protocol is not changing, and neither should your estrogen levels a little bit. Now, might still change, depending on which other compounds you're using. If you're using like a little bit of proviron or masterone, which is known to reduce aromatase activity, your estrogen levels might decline. And if you change your dosing or your injection protocol, you go from an everyday approach, for example, you inject your testosterone every day to every other day to maybe once a week, the conversion changes as well. So keep track of that. Yeah, the more insight you have into your own body by doing blood work, the more intelligent your protocols become, and the least amount of side effects you could potentially have. So I know blood work isn't available to everybody, but if you do have it available, just do it as many times as you can. It's generally not that expensive. For me, a full check costs between $100 to $150, and that's not that bad considering all the other money we spend, on whether that's hormones and performance enhancing drugs or supplements to keep us healthy, or the gym membership and training equipment and straps and belts and all that kind of stuff. And the food. I mean, the food bill is going to be astronomical, if you really want to take care of yourself. So $100 every 3 months, $30 a month to keep yourself healthy. I think that's a non-issue. $50 a month to keep yourself healthy. If you only have $50, spend it on blood work. Don't sign up for the Facebook group. Spend it on blood work. Keep yourself healthy. That will be 100% a priority. Yeah, to do your blood work, and don't spend it on a luxury like a Facebook group where you can ask me questions. If you have $100 to spend, it would be way better. $50 on blood work per month, $50 on a Facebook group where all the information that I just talked about is available in way more detail. And then you can use some of the information there to keep yourself as healthy as possible while you're using hormones, or maybe decide to change some of the health supplementation that you've been doing so far to keep your blood work more in range. Yeah? Man, lipids, before I forget it, lipids is going to depend highly on what you're taking. So lipids might be good on hormone replacement like dosages. Maybe on Primo Anavar it doesn't change that much. Once you start using hormones, I would just check your estrogen and your lipids every time, just to keep track. Yeah, and while you're at it, check your high sensitivity C-reactive protein as well, because if you're using underground gear with synthetic carrier oils, your systemic inflammation might go up, which damages the inside of your arteries. Yeah, the C-reactive protein is basically a donut-shaped molecule, which could damage the inside of your arteries, and now you're allowing for potential plaque buildup. Yeah, through LDL foam cells combining with calcium, through acidity of the blood. It's a long story. I'll save that for another video. When you check your estrogen every 4 weeks, every 3 months, check your lipid levels, make sure your HDL is nice and high, at least more than 40. Yeah, we got several supplements that I discussed in other videos for that. Keep them over 40. Keep HDL, LDL below or around 100. Yeah, I think it's more important to keep your HDL up than to keep your LDL down. But of course, you don't want to keep your LDL too high, because 150, 200, 300, I mean, it's not really conducive to cardiovascular disease, right? So keep those under control. And if you do have to abuse yourself for a contest, shorten the duration where your lipids are off, limiting, the harsh androgenic compounds that destroy your lipid levels and your HDL to LDL ratio. Limit that to 6 weeks, 8 weeks maximum. Yeah, at least the duration that your lipids are going to be off is going to be shortened. And then you can attempt to fix them post-contest in the best way you see fit. Yeah, again, depending on what you were taking, depends on the protocol you're going to have to do afterwards. Total cholesterol should be around 200. Yeah, some people like it a little bit higher. I do notice that for recovery, it might be a little bit better to keep your cholesterol high because cholesterol is also found in cell membranes. Yeah, so you can consider it a building block. It's also found in the balls where it produces testosterone. But hey, when you're taking hormones, the need for cholesterol in the balls is severely reduced because you're suppressing your HPTA. Yeah, so you don't want the cholesterol floating around in the blood. You want it to go into the cell membrane and create, new, thicker, stronger cell membranes, or, two cells through cell proliferation. That's a whole different story for a different video. Lipids and estrogen every 4 weeks. Once you got those under control, you can get away with full blood work every 3 months. So you do that 4 times a year. Set some money aside to do that frequently because it does give you best indication of your health going forward and minimize some of the potential health ramifications that you can cause yourself by taking steroids too much for too long. Hope that helps. Hope that sends you on the right way, and I'll see you guys in the next video.